Red light, green light, red light, green light, red light, green light, red light, green light.
I was feeling good till the fuckboy at me. Now I'm trying to see what he parked his ride. I was feeling good till the fuckboy at me. Now I'm trying to see what he parked his ride. Like, come outside.
Red light, green light, red light, green light. Yo. I'm flipping it. One flip of the switch, I turn so blind with rage. The others.
What's up, everybody? It's your boy Chaos, and welcome to another special episode of Take It to the Table. It is that time of the year. We do this every year. It is, of course, the best and worst pay-per-views of the year, and of course, to in order to what's the right word? In order to get the best the best rankings, the most prestigious rankings in all of wrestling. I had to have obviously a great panel on here, and of course, let's just get straight to it. To my left is none other than Soul. Welcome back to the show, Soul. How you doing?
Oh, good to be back, buddy. That's technically you're right, but I'll let you off it because I know.
My bad.
Hey, I respect it. Yeah, I'm just gonna say, I'm getting ready for this because if I swear to God, if I see any AEW on the worst list, I'm gonna absolutely spelt it every single one of your heads. But let's get on with it. I've got.
Oh boy, I can't wait for that. Let's see if someone's who's gonna crack first. But of course, yeah, welcome to the show. Obviously, again, to my further right is none other than Anthony. Welcome back to the show, sir. How you doing?
I'm doing all right. I'm very fortunate to be selected to the panel. I got the notice. Didn't even know I was in the running, so I appreciate being included in this.
Of course. Yeah, definitely. This is a very, it was on the short list. It was very tight. It was between you and Clark, but you just about edged it. So yeah, I think that kind of cost him.
I'm definitely rubbing that in. The fact that I got this and he didn't.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, this is like a middle finger to his Tony Award that you actually on the.
Thank you very much.
Yes, of course. Anytime. Of course, down below is of course none other than El Jefe, Ben Allison. How you doing today, sir?
I am doing fantastic. I'm very excited to be here. I've got my list. I've checked it twice. And yeah, let's talk the 10 best shows of 2023.
Of course. Also, by the way, everybody, he did not hold me at ransom and order me to put him on this show, even though he is the El Jefe of Wrestling Republic. He's, he paid me nicely. I mean, he asked nicely.
Obligated?
Chaos. He'll release you. He'll do it. He's a madman. He will release you. Trust me. I know.
I am not. I'm not reading enough cue cards right now for him to he just he made this is he
keep reading them.
Oh my goodness. Well, of course, welcome to the show, and of course, last but not least, one of the originals of Take It to the Table. I had to bring one of the boys up here, none other than Mr. Rhymes. Welcome back to the show, sir. How you doing?
I'm doing great. It has been a whole year at this point now, right?
Pretty much. You make a special appearance for this episode.
I think the last time I was on the show was Clash at the Castle, right?
Yeah, the vlog. Yeah, the vlogs. Yeah,
that's nearly 2 years ago.
So right, essentially, you're saying, Chaos, that you've made him the Santa of the table. He comes around once a year. Is that what you're
pretty
saying?
Much, yeah.
Mm-hmm. I'm the special guest.
Brock Lesnar.
I was on the first ever broadcast, so I'm an OG.
Yeah, you definitely are. Of course, welcome back to the show. Definitely welcome back.
To be back.
Good. Yeah. So yeah, we got as you know what time it is, obviously the top 10 pay-per-views of the year. It's been a very productive, very exciting year. A lot of moments both on TV and outside of TV, which we'll get into shortly. But yeah, we can't wait to get into our individual lists of our top 10s. But yeah, before we get into that, make sure you grab your popcorn, make sure you like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. And without further ado, let us take it to the table.
What a banger.
I swear the graphics improve every time I'm on here.
I know, man. Definitely. Yes.
The budget goes up.
100%. But yeah, it's 2024 as of this recording. But like I said at the beginning of the show, 2023, what an eventful year it was. Not just for wrestling, but also me personally as a wrestling fan, and for all of us really here on this panel, has been very eventful. 2023 has pretty much, since being a wrestling fan for me, has been absolutely the most fun I've ever had as personally. Obviously, being part of the Wrestling Republic crew as well. Going to WrestleMania, thanks to obviously Clark Taylor as well, being there, being a part of history. Especially when it came to night 2, when we actually, thought a certain person was going to finish the story, but of course, it didn't go that way. And of course, this is my reaction. I'll give you. If you haven't seen the vlog, this was my reaction. Me and Soul's reaction at the night when it actually happened.
Come on! Yes! Get that work! Get that work! Yes! Oh my God! Work the I told you! It was because of the sale. I don't care! It doesn't matter!
That's what it was. To this day, that's still why it was.
I just love though, from our I'm silent pretty much until the pin. And then when it happens, I'm like, what? And I'm silent again because you just see me with my fucking gob open. I'm like, shit.
I love the comparison between Chaos's camera and yours. That he looks like it's an HD 4K.
Pretty much. I just lost it. Absolutely, I loved it. And obviously, Ben Ellison was obviously it was someone that was, of course, a man of many reactions, if you will, also during the WrestleMania weekend. And I obviously give you an example right here.
Oh good.
No matter what I do, all I think about is you. Even when I'm with my boo, you know I'm crazy over you.
That clip never gets old.
But still,
I'm taking credit for that because I told Chaos as soon as that, it was like, man, you gotta pair with that and that, and look what it created. I am genius. I am.
To be done. That was one of the greatest moments of that trip, definitely. But it's also another thing about Ben as well. He was very good at pulling faces, such as there was one time as well, as if he just met in a bar, took her back to his place. They all got nice and cozy. One thing leads to another, only to find out, just like the Aaliyah song, she's more than a woman.
What is that? What the fuck is that?
So is this just the roast? You just invited him to roast him?
Right.
the roast of Ben Allison.
It was just comedy gold, definitely.
I have a theory though. I think a certain somebody's been watching Wrestling Republic's daily broadcast recently and has seen what I've been saying, have realized that I've been exposing him, and has paid off Chaos to show these clips. And that man is that sociopath, Adam Copeland. I'm not even going to give him. I'm not even going to let him talk.
Are we kayfabe with this, are we?
No.
Yeah, that's way too much credit.
Pretty much since I came back.
Speaking of,
it was me, Allison. It was me all over.
another my favorite moment of my 2023 as well was obviously the unexpected return of Soul at All In at Wembley Arena, and obviously this is how the reuniting happened.
There's Ben Allison.
obviously doing his own thing.
And I think, yes, I have. I found Chaos. Chaos.
Hello,
how
Ben.
are you?
Yeah, I'm good. And you?
I'm good.
My God! Okay, it's happening. Everybody stay calm. What's the procedure, everyone? What's the procedure? Stay calm! Wait. Everybody calm down!
Well, if it isn't the Willie Nonto of Wrestling Republic.
It's an Allison, the boss of Wrestling Republic. How's it been since you took me to the curb?
Help! Police! Help! Police! Help!
Guys. Thank God. How you doing, guys?
Give me the Triple H point. Give me the Triple H point.
That was gold.
Definitely,
the CM Punk
definitely.
shirt was foretelling. Wasn't it Chaos?
Oh God. What was that, All Out, right? Or All In? All Out?
Sorry, All In. Yeah, it was the All In. Yeah, Wembley. So yeah, a very productive year. And very eventful. But at the end of the day, yeah, it's been positive all night, but positivity all around. And yeah, obviously I've been grateful to be and thankful to be part of the Wrestling Republic team. So just want to obviously give a huge shout out for you guys and thank you for being a part of history. Not really history, but you know what I mean. Just, yeah.
It's gonna be history. This is the foundation in which history will be built upon.
So out of the interactions at All In between Allison and Soul, wouldn't you think
peachy, even though I was sitting right in the middle between them?
Think one of them would have been choked out? But no, Jungle Boy was choked out by CM Punk.
That was the real brawl out. Or the brawl
We managed to squash beef better than Tony Khan could, but that's
surprisingly.
That's another
Sounds like
story.
a management issue, but what do I know?
Exactly.
But just wait. I'm waiting for the moment we're all together. I'm gonna pull a Seth Rollins with the chair and hear that someone in the crowd go no. And
100%. But yeah, like I said, that's me personally. But also in the wrestling world, what a crazy year we've had in 2023. You know, Punk returning to AEW only to be fired 3 months later. Him obviously returning to WWE, the place he never said he would never go back to. Vince coming back to WWE in the beginning of the year, only to kind of get shafted out again, thankfully.
Vince getting $9 billion for that company is one of the things that falls under the radar that he got that much.
Is for 100%.
That's true.
Obviously, like I said, WWE selling as well, something that in my lifetime I didn't think I would see.
No, I didn't.
Jade Cargill leaving AEW to go to WWE, Edge leaving WWE to go to AEW. It's been crazy in 2023. Absolutely bizarre. Like, I think, like I said, since the beginning of me being a wrestling fan, I don't think the industry has been this fun and so full of surprises. It's absolutely insane considering how long we've been fans.
It hasn't been like this since the big three: ECW, WCW, and WWF.
Yeah.
During that Monday Night War era, it's never been like this until now.
100%. So yeah, after all that stuff and all the roasting and all that stuff, I just wanted to come in full circle. I just wanted to ask you guys, because of the craziness that we've had in 2023, what, in your opinion, could be the next craziest thing to happen in wrestling that could never happen, but actually did in 2024? Like, what about you? Let's start with you, Saul. What do you think would definitely, be up there with how crazy 2023 has been?
Well, you know me, I'm a betting man. I like a good bet. And I've cleared the bet. Successful. No frosted tips for me because Tony Khan was not the devil. So I'm going to say this. I have no doubt in my mind that this will happen in 2024. Daniel Garcia or Wheeler Yuta will beat Eddie Kingston for the Continental Crown.
Oh, okay.
Huh.
I'm very thankful that will happen because I feel like with Eddie and this Continental Crown, it should be used for someone for elevation because it's an honor to hold, 3 titles at once. Eddie's a great guy in himself and a wrestler. Wheeler Yuta and Daniel Garcia, I feel like, are the 2 guys that are kind of stuck in the mid-card position at the moment, but they have potential to be elevated. And I think that's something that'll happen to them as well.
Mm.
But if you want a crazy one, I'll go and fuck it and say it. I think in this 2024, there will be a crossover show in wrestling, but it will not feature AEW or WWE.
Oh, okay.
A
What's left?
crossover that won't feature.
Won't. It will not. There will be a massive crossover show, but it will not feature WWE or AEW.
Okay. So TNA and MLW or something.
I'm thinking TNA, New Japan, Noah, MLW.
Jesus. Okay.
Well, that's random, but I love it. Love the idea.
Yeah. Why not?
Right.
Why not?
Maybe I've been spiked enough as it is, and it's a
Fair dues, fair dues. Let's see if that happens. What about you, Anthony? What do you think could be the next craziest thing to happen in 2024?
The wild part is 22 was wild too, and so was 23. So if I'm going to go with I'll go with a safe one first, and then I'll go an outside the box one. I think a safe one is I think Ricky Starks is jumping the WWE. I think that's going to happen. For wild, I wouldn't be surprised if WWE forms some type of partnership with TNA, especially with the Endeavor being the streaming service, and they have a pretty good relationship together. And TNA really wants to push this relaunch, and they're not trying to compete with WWE, so they're not a threat. So I think there's a chance that something happens.
Right.
I like that. Yeah. Yeah, that's not too far at the box. I think that'd be very monumental, especially under Triple H's vision, or under his team and whatnot. So yeah, 100%. I think it's more open. Definitely be more open to it than what Vince ever was. So,
I mean, they had AJ Styles at Slammiversary a couple of years ago for the 20th anniversary. We've seen Mickie James with the knockout title on the Rumble.
Yeah.
And WWE has used TNA footage for Table for Three and a couple other things. So I think there's a possibility, and I think Scott D'Amore is willing to work with them, and I think Triple H would be willing to do it too.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, that's a very good shout. What about you, El Jefe? What do you think will be up there as being one of the craziest things in 2024?
Well, you just took it, Anthony, basically. But on the daily, we just discussed it for pretty much 25 minutes. We're massively over talking about it.
I didn't watch it,
but
I was working, so technically I couldn't. So,
but basically, when Endeavor took over UFC, what they did pretty much immediately, and Dana White had started it before that happened with Strikeforce, but they started to get deals with all the smaller MMA promotions and be like, listen, some of your younger talents, we want to sign a contract saying that we can sign them off you for a price at any given time, right? You'll get, essentially a transfer fee. But that'll mean that we help you out with production costs, and we provide you a streaming network as well. Now, you'll also be able to get some of our talent, to be commentators at times and stuff like that. Now, in wrestling, because obviously MMA and wrestling are different, that could be maybe they could get, some of WWE's top stars, such as an AJ Styles, like you mentioned, Anthony, or something like that. So we could have a situation here where TNA has a partnership with WWE. WWE get first shot at all of TNA's young talents, but then the older ones, well, TNA could be a place essentially for some of the older talents who are too old for WWE, because obviously they want to be, sign talents younger now so they can market them for longer. They can send some of their older talents there, and TNA could be doing great again, and it won't be, of course, it won't be competing with WWE, but at least it'll be still thriving and going, and there won't be as much risk, because they've said they were improving production. Well, that's something that UFC help out all of their people on Fight Pass with as well. And also, like you mentioned, Endeavor are helping TNA with their streaming service. So who's not to say that maybe some of the TNA stuff, such as some of their events featuring WWE stars, then go on the network like WWE did with Evolve a couple of years ago. But also, like we discussed on the daily, I don't think it's stopping there. I think pretty much in every country in the world where there is a wrestling product, I think WWE are going to start, getting deals again. They used to have them with Progress. I reckon they're going to go and try and get those deals once again. I think they really want to expand, and I think they want to, show the world that they control professional wrestling and basically kill any partnerships that AEW could possibly have, and inevitably make AEW come under them as well.
Yeah.
If you remember, there is precedent there because Vince secretly funded ECW
It's
with
true.
the same premise. So there is
Yeah.
precedent there.
Oh yeah, no, 100%.
Do you feel like TNA would be like an NXT, like a low-key NXT?
Almost like probably a feeder into WWE.
Yeah, so a
essentially.
feeder. So it's not even part of WWE. It's its own thing. It's its own company, but they have a deal for like the next 10 years or whatever, where they, the young talents could go there. The young talents could be then signed to WWE for a fee each time, a fixed fee. It would probably be, that's what it usually is, presuming the talent wants to. But yeah, WWE will help TNA with some production costs, as well as, maybe some of their stuff going on the network. And then at times, who knows, maybe an AJ Styles does go down to TNA.
Fair dues. Yeah, I'm liking that. That wouldn't surprise me as well, especially with WWE love to be, because that's one thing that Triple H and Vince still have, that they still have that same mindset, as in they want world domination.
Yeah.
WWE is the only place. Go on.
Keep in mind, Hard to Kill keeps advertising this thing of worlds colliding, and it's the biggest signing. Everyone thinks it's a talent. What if it's a deal with WWE?
Maybe.
True.
Yeah, definitely.
There is a Worlds Collide show, so nothing would be wilder than if it Hard to Kill DX music hits and Shawn and Triple H come out.
That'd be nuts.
No, he would definitely playing all hail to the king. Definitely, that's with Triple H and his ego. But no, that would be crazy. And yeah, what way to start with? And then TK will be punching the air if that ever happens. But we'll see what happens from there. What about you, Mr. Rhymes? What would be your wild prediction, or what would you consider a wild moment in 2024?
So I didn't really give it much thought for outside promotions because I don't really watch them too much. I spent a lot of this year. This has been my weakest year for wrestling in general, but then I mostly just stick to WWE whenever I can. But I said that I felt like now that Punk's back, I'm always rooting for that AJ Lee return, even if she's back as like a Maurice role or whatever. I am gung ho. I want her back. Or whatever, and I felt that they keep teasing it because he keeps mentioning her. And then, did you watch the preview show last night?
Yep.
And when he was in the room, he had the dolls behind him. So it's like she shows she's always now that he's back, it's always she's always kind of mentioned or whatever. That's one. Two, I predicted that I felt because what's her face? I think I put it in our wrestling group, whatever. But Trin was ranked number 4 for wrestlers this year. Whatever it is. And I keep seeing that she's been in talks. So I felt that she was probably going to do a Mickie James and be the surprise with the Knockouts title. So I felt like she'll be a surprise at Rumble and whatnot. And then my biggest thing was I also said that I felt I guess as of this taping, SmackDown is happening tonight, right? So I said that I felt they were going to take AJ, Orton, and LA Knight. They're gonna take them out of the Rumble for Roman to beat them in the Fatal 4-Way, because they're gonna kind of still give us that. Is it gonna be Cody that goes to Rumble or to Mania, or is it gonna be The Rock because The Rock obviously returned and whatnot?
I saw the little eye roll there. He's not feeling it. Sorry.
I mean, Ben and I strongly disagree on which way this is going, but we'll see what happens.
I don't mind if we get Rock and Roman at Mania. I'm not against that, but then either way, I just don't want Roman to lose. I can go another year with Roman. So that's my big thing. My big wild card is I don't think Roman's losing. I think we're getting another
It's
year
good you can go another year because you're gonna have to. He's gonna hold it until next year, guys.
I'm not tired of Roman at all. I'm here for it. So.
Me neither. But I mean, I feel like I'm also the minority.
Everyone
people gave all right. We'll stretch it another year. We'll give you another one. But the majority, I think people have But that's another conversation. That's another conversation.
That's a much longer conversation.
One more year of Roman.
Fair dues. Okay, so you want Trinity to come back. And AJ Lee. Those are your big takes. But that's fairly soon. It's the Rumble then.
I feel like Sasha Banks Mercedes may come back. She may, but I'm not holding out for that one. I feel like that's one of those ones that if she is, I'll be happy. Don't get me wrong, but I also kind of feel like that's one of those. That's a pipe dream.
But that's what everyone said about Punk, and then look what happened. So right now, literally anything is possible right now. Like ever since the Punk thing, that threw me off. I'm like, I don't trust.
Listen, if WWE updates your page and you've been gone forever, there's no reason for them to update your page. That's all I'm saying.
That's what I'm saying. Because I thought, like, yeah, with that Punk thing, I thought it was just like a, something that an automatic thing that they update, but it proved right. So yeah, it was all crazy. So we'll see what happens with that. My wild take. Well, I'm gonna start off with my wildest take, because I can't really think of anything else. My wildest take is that somehow there's another fallout between Punk and WWE, and he goes back to AEW.
Oh God,
that's really out there.
Please, me.
We've seen crazier things happen.
I understand that, and I can believe that.
That's what I'm saying. Anything is possible. Anything is really possible right now. But yeah, it's something that's more logical. I'd say Monet is more. I feel like she's more AEW bound because, like, I feel like if she didn't get injured, there's more chance of her going to WWE. But I feel like she does have unfinished business. So yeah, and obviously AEW has that gateway to New Japan. They also have kind of that gateway to TNA. So there's more chance of her. I think she just has unfinished business before she goes back to WWE. She's definitely going to end up back.
I think it's the money, Chaos. I believe it's the money.
Monet.
That's it. You get it? No, but yeah, I think that is definitely more on the cards more than anything. But yeah, wild take is definitely CM Punk has a fallout with Triple H or something, and then he just shows up at flipping All Out in Chicago. That's my wildest take. But we'll see what happens there. But yeah, let me know your thoughts in the comments as well if you agree or what's your wildest takes. But yeah, let's move swiftly on. Okay, let's get to the meat, shall we? The top 10 of what we think of the best pay-per-views of the year. And usually we do it like one by one. We give everyone everyone do the 10, 9s, 8s, all that stuff. This time I'm gonna leave the panel to one person and they're gonna reel off all their top 10 to ones. We discuss it, or if we object, then feel free. Of course, this is the table. This is where you leave your grievances and give your opinions. And then move on to the next person. So without further ado, let's start with the numero uno. Ben, no, I'm joking. So,
continues.
Go. What's your top 10, please? Should be good.
Need to clean the palate.
Save that for the worst.
I might join you there.
Good man. Right, number 10 was the show that all of us, minus Rhymes, attended. I put this at number 10 because I feel like it was a good opener for the weekend, and that is Ring of Honor Supercard of Honor. I still remember Chaos flipping his shit when the Kingo and Commander opened the show. But that was a very strong point. Weak points, I would have gone with the 6-man titles and Tanahashi versus Garcia. While it's still enjoyable, I feel like it was the weaker one compared to what was on the card. Loved Joe versus Briscoe for TV title. The Ring of Honor tag team reached for the ladder match for Jay Briscoe's memory. Stellar minus Dante effing up his leg a wee bit. Shibata winning the pure title of my boy Wheeler Yuta was a travesty in itself, and I'm still heartbroken over that, my boy. And obviously Claudio versus Eddie, a story that writes itself that was eventually ended at Grand Slam, and also getting to see the new titles as well in person. I mean, history there in the books. Any objections? No, good. Continuing on.
You didn't mention the armband.
Oh, yeah.
That was a nice touch. That was a nice touch.
I have them all fucking here. I think they're in the where the fuck are they?
I sold it.
It was a good show.
It was solid. It was very good.
I'm a cheapskate, but all that for cheapskate. They're fucking somewhere. Somewhere in this fucking bar that I've reorganized to shit high heavens. Right, number 9 is AEW Double or Nothing.
Which one was that one?
I object. It was shit.
Okay.
That's on my next list.
I love the international battle royale, which ended up coming to Cassidy and Swerve at the end. Very strong showing, and Cassidy continues amazing reign. Matches that didn't hit, I will admit, I actually don't mind it, but I can understand why people don't like it. Is Cole versus Jericho, the unsanctioned match. I thought it was all right, but I can understand why people might hate the high heavens. I loved the tag match with FTR, Jay Lethal, and Jarrett. I thought that was very enjoyable. The Trios open house match, I feel like was a bit weak because it was announced like literally on the show itself. The TBF match versus Cargill and Taya Valkyrie, I feel like was Cargill's best showing in AEW throughout her entire career. The pillar match 4-way, which I called last year, I loved because I've seen all these guys during the pandemic and seen them get that spotlight. I loved, and obviously the Anarchy in the arena match versus the Elite and BCC. Not going to complain. It was absolutely amazing. I know you're all probably objecting right now and saying, "No, it was shit. It was." Fine.
I'll leave that to David.
You're
Cool.
running down the list.
Number 8.
I had to ask you what was the pay-per-view. So
sorry, I'm religious for this. I have all the AEW catalog. I have like 20 posters of the things I've bought over the last year. So I mean, hey, I'm sorted for life. 8. This will probably all surprise you. Is Impact Slammiversary.
Oh wow! Okay.
I was recently watching this maybe like a month ago and decided to buy it, and I was quite impressed. The Ultimate X match with Kushida, Alan Angels, Jake Something, Gresham, Kevin Knight, and Mike Bailey I thought was very entertaining. The Knockouts tag team title match where it saw the Coven win the titles. I feel like they're very good characters, and I feel like with women's tag team wrestling, it's especially dire in WWE. People want it in AEW, but I feel like Impact have a somewhat okay balance for it. X Division title with Leo Rush defeating Chris Sabin for the title and then retiring for the 800th time. Good for him. Cool. Tag team title match which saw Subculture win the titles. I truly love them, and seeing NXT UK guys getting good work as well, which is always love to see. Eric Young returning to the company after dying and then staying some time in catering in NXT, which was cool to see. Trinity making her debut and winning the Knockouts title as well, which I think set a good precedent for change. And obviously Alex Shelley beating Nick Aldis. Very strong showing to keep Alex strong, and Nick Aldis getting sent to a suit and fitting and being a general manager now. Him and Adam Pearce, NWA versus NWA. That's going to be on WrestleMania minus the Coke. Moving on. Yeah, I'm going to mention it.
Somebody was going to.
I cannot wait.
And it was probably going to be me or him.
Yep. Number 7. The first WWE show is on this list. It's Money in the Bank. I know Chaos and Allison attended this live. I was cheap, so I did not decide to make the journey down south because I hate that place with a passion. The ladder match with Damian Priest winning the title, I think shocked everybody, and his run as Money in the Bank holder, very 50-50 with me. I feel like it could have been a lot more, chasing with the briefcase, maybe being a bit more engaging. Although custom briefcase, so I feel like he's going to hold it for a very long time. Heck, if he cashes in at Mania after Cody beats Roman, yeah, that's going to piss a lot of fucking people off.
That won't go over well in Philly. There will be a riot. We threw snowballs at Santa. I would advise against it strongly.
Also love Gunther versus Riddle, which led to McIntyre coming back. I thought was great. Cody Rhodes versus Dominic, I felt was very meh. The women's Money in the Bank, I think, was just on par with the men's. Seth Rollins versus Balor, I think, was I think it's either my match of the night with the tag match versus the Usos and Roman and Solo. What happened after that tag match, I am not going to fucking discuss because I hate it. So, yeah, solid show there.
Wait, what happened after the tag match?
A little match that you'll see on my worst list. Number 6, AEW All Out. From after All In, I don't think a lot of people felt like they were going to keep the high of All In, but I think they definitely did. Opening with Better Than You Babies kicking off against the Dark Order for the Ring of Honor tag team titles. What I would truly loved as well is Joe coming out at the same time and then bumping Maxwell, and that basically built up the whole feud between them. And I think the continuation of the Devil story. TNT title match with Christian Cage, because he is the champion at that point, wasn't Luchasaurus. Check your facts, boys. Defeating Darby, stellar. Miro and Powerhouse Hobbs, the meat single match, very enjoyable in itself as well. Ricky Starks and Bryan Danielson in a no disqualification strap match, very enjoyable. Even the tag match with Blackpool Combat Club and Castanoli and Wheeler Yuta versus Eddie Kingston and Shibata, that was very enjoyable. The 8-man tag match versus Bullet Club Gold, FTR, and the Bucks, I think, was very overshadowed with Punk's firing and the Young Bucks being in Chicago. They were basically going there for the magnet of the heat. Even the main event as well, the international title, getting that highlighted spot with Moxley and Cassidy was truly, truly a great showing for Cassidy. Just shame with Moxley getting injured afterwards, and then a wee tag hot potato with the title, but Cassidy's still holding strong with that now, so I'm happy with that. Number 5 is AEW Wrestle Dream. I truly did enjoy Wrestle Dream for a match that was in like a pay-per-view that being announced, and it was very like, okay, could be something, could be not, but I felt it was very enjoyable. MJF opening up again with the Ring of Honor tag titles, because obviously Adam Cole was injured at this point, gets the Righteous. Okay, bit solid on my part. Ring of Honor World title defense with the New Japan Strongs as well, with Kingston Ben against Shibata. I mean, truly means a lot for Eddie, being a massive fan of Japanese style wrestling. Chris Stylander defending against Julia Hart for the TBS. I feel this was the start of Julia Hart's really ascension to getting that title. Number 1 contender 4-way. Felt was all right, but the Bucks would get that win. Interesting enough in itself. Singles with Swerve versus Adam Page. This was my match of the night. Because this was Swerve making a statement, and then would continue on to a stellar match down the line. And also I think a match everyone wanted was Bryan Danielson versus Zack Sabre Jr. They put on a technical masterpiece. And obviously we saw the debut of Adam Copeland. I don't think anyone really expected Mr. Edge to jump ship, but he did, and we got great things out of it. Number 4 is AEW Revolution.
Which one's that one?
That was the one with the amazing Iron Man match with MJF and Bryan Danielson.
Got ya.
Honestly, stellar match as well. The Guns as well retaining their titles, which led to FDR coming back. Wardlow defeating Samoa Joe for the TNT Championship. I loved Adam Page versus Moxley in the Texas Death match. And some other stellar matches as well, obviously with the House of Black winning trios titles. Number 3, WWE WrestleMania 39 Night 1.
Ooh, okay.
So
I'll mention
you're
the bad.
counting them as different shows.
Different shows. I'm ranking them as different shows because that's what they are on the network, and I ain't gonna sit through 8 hours to get some food and go into some shit. Bad first, Austin Theory versus Cena. This was piss poor. Seth Rollins versus Logan Paul. Fuck Logan Paul. And now the goods. The 4-way tag match I felt was better than a lot of people thought it was going to be, and they really truly earned a spot on that card. The 6 women with Becky, Lita, and Trish versus Damage Control. Clashing of eras with the current star and Becky, I felt was very great. Rey Mysterio versus Dominic. Oh boy, CPS were getting flooded with calls with that day, I bet. Jesus.
Not them wrestling with Cinnamon Toast Crunch around the ring.
Oh yeah, that's real advertising.
The Soul calls it diabetes.
Yeah, right. Rhea Ripley and Charlotte Flair, they stole this. A lot of people were like, oh, they don't get that main title thing, but nah, they showed and delivered. And then Kevin Owens versus Sami Zayn versus the Usos. This was a payoff to a beautiful story. I got no complaints with it at all. Number 2 is AEW Full Gear.
Ooh.
Okay.
So, starting off with Copeland, Darby, and Sting versus the Patriarchy. Truly enjoyable to see Adam Copeland tag with Sting as well. Something that I don't think a lot of people would ever thought they would see. Orange Cassidy cementing his second title reign against Moxley and beating him. Toni Storm is starting her timeless era by beating Hikaru Shida. The tag match, 4-way ladder match as well, which kind of, I feel like, has cement Big Bill and Ricky Starks as a legitimate team in the tag division. Julia Hart making her ascension and rise, becoming the TBS champion. Maybe one of the least matches on this card, I will say, is the Golden Jets versus the Bucks. Kind of happened there, maybe not the best thing. And with the Bucks gone and Kenny on the shelf and Jericho in naughty jail, we don't know what's going to be happening next. I will mention one of my 2 favorite matches on this card is the Texas Death match with Swerve and Hangman. Fuck, that was brutality, and I loved it. It truly was stunning between those two, and basically making Swerve your top guy for at least the next 5 years without showing. And then MJF versus Jay White. I know a lot of people didn't like this with all the run-ins and the surprises, but I personally enjoyed it because I like to see the end of the story of Jay basically being the cocky Aussie and just dangling the title belt over him and really making a showing of MJF. Now, number one. There's only one thing that could be my number one. A show we all attended and loved, minus these two. You know, I'm sorry. AEW All In.
That was the one at Wembley, right?
Bingo. Right. Starting off, fuck Punk. I don't give a shit about that match anymore. Bullet Club Gold versus with the Kesha versus the Elite, the Golden Elite, stunning tag match. Bucks and Bucks versus FTR. Thank God Cash got through customs. That's great to see. Stadium Stampede, great. It was true brutality. You love to see it. Saraya getting her moment. Someone who's went through a lot of hard times, and to get that moment in front of her countrymen, I got no problem with it. The Coffin tag team match. I'm kind of glad AR Fox wasn't on it now. We got Christian Cage on it with Swerve versus Darby and Sting because they absolutely tore it down. Will Ospreay and Jericho. A lot of people doubted Jericho for this, and a lot of people gave him a lot of shit. But hey, they delivered and truly brought it for that night. Billy Gunn, the Acclaimed. I love the Acclaimed dropping a Prince Andrew round. Fuck the Royals. That's good to know. And love it. MJF versus Adam Cole. Friendship won that night. Obviously, we know down the line Adam Cole was being a bit of a cheeky one. But they really showed their whole stuff. They really brought it. A lot of people thought there was going to be a turn in that match. But no, they just had a match, told the story, and delivered a match that, people really enjoyed. And I don't think anyone's going to complain about seeing what AEW bring to All In this year. And that's my top 10.
Wow.
Dude.
So I'm just going to say that my top 10 wasn't that in-depth.
No, it's cool. No, he set the tone. It's all good.
Right,
it's all good.
Like,
it's all good.
Damn.
Don't worry.
I don't even remember.
No, it's cool. No, he broke it down, and he had valid points. I'm pretty. Can I just say out here? Am I confident to say that All In is not in everyone's top? Is number one?
All In is not my number one.
Okay, fair enough. So that's fair enough.
Not in my top 10.
Oh, damn.
It is. I'm joking. It is.
Okay.
I mean,
He was about
it's
to
not in
flip
mine.
the
I still
laptop.
to this day haven't watched it. So.
Oh, wow. Okay, fair enough. No, that was a great show. Like I said, the atmosphere was crazy and all that stuff. But yeah. One of them I'm quite surprised is that one night of Mania is not on, but not the other. That's very interesting. But fair dues. Next up, Anthony, give us your top 10, please.
All right, number 10, Backlash. I thought it was an incredibly hot crowd. The show in Puerto Rico, even like the drone when they flew in, and it was just, it's Cody Brock. It's the first one, even though they never really explained why Brock turned on him in the grand scheme of things, but it was a good match. The San
No. The reason was that he was pissed that his match was first at Mania and Cody gets main event. That's the reason. Some childish shit. But yeah.
So the San Juan street fight, Damian Priest and Bad Bunny, which over-delivered. And absolutely the Selena Rhea match, which was one of the best matches. Number 9 for me, SummerSlam. Logan Paul and Ricochet picked up where they left off at the Rumble, jumping all over the place. Cody Brock, the finale, just Brock raising Cody's hand, which we've never seen Brock do, no matter who he is in the ring with. I think visually that was a really cool moment. And if that is the trial of Brock to get Cody to the promised land, I understand that. That's the chapter. I get it. The Slim Jim Battle Royal wasn't bad. The Gunther Drew match was obviously good. Gunther's dominating with his IC title reign. And then the Roman J match, the trial combat. I thought that was pretty good. Number 8, I have AEW Revolution. The final burial match, which I thought visually, when Christian buried Jungle Boy and the coffin just dropped dramatically. I don't know if that was a malfunction or it was supposed to happen, but visually I thought that was cool.
Wait. You mean the other way around? You said Christian buried Jack Perry. You mean Jack Perry buried?
Oh
Christian?
yeah.
No, he didn't. No.
Yes. Correct.
No.
Yeah, what you had.
No.
At this point, they're both heels, so I'm confused at this point. Hangman, Mox, the Texas Death Match, which was really good. And then the Iron Man with Bryan and MJF. I never agreed with the build-up for that Iron Man match because MJF was building himself up as a sadistic monster, which really doesn't make sense when you're building up an Iron Man match, which is built on technicality. So 7, I have Elimination Chamber. And
really,
that U.S. title chamber match really showcased everybody in there, which I was not expecting. Granted, nothing came of it, but visually, I thought that the match really delivered. It was kind of cool to see Edge and Beth tag at least once on a pay-per-view, which I thought was great. And you can't go the Sammy Roman. There's so much story there, like that, and that hot crowd for Sammy. Like, I had to include this for that alone. Number 6, Survivor Series. Obviously, the chamber matches, Gunther and Miz, which I think over-delivered. I did not expect that much out of Miz. Rhea and Zoe, obviously the best showing out of Zoe. Nothing's come of it as of yet, but I thought it was an amazing. And then obviously Punk, the return when hell froze over that I called on this show.
Yeah, you did.
And broke soul. So that had to make the list. Number 5, I have Impact Rebellion on this list. I know it's probably one that's probably not on everybody's.
What one was that one?
That was the Motor City Machine Guns took on ABC, which was to me like a battle of the generation type thing. PCO took on Eddie Edwards in a last rights match. And I thought it was very interesting. TNA's the only, or Impact at the time, was the only company that both their women's and their world title, their champions had to vacate those titles due to injury. So they had to crown 2 new champions that night. And Macklin and Kushida absolutely delivered for the world title match. And so did Deanna and Jordan for the women's. So I had to include that. Number 4 for me. What was that?
You just reminded me of that shit because that was fucking Alexander and Mickey, wasn't it? Fuck.
Yeah, they both had to relinquish. Yeah. Number 4, Impact Bound for Glory. It's their version of WrestleMania. I thought it was an absolutely phenomenal show. ABC took on the Rascals for the tag titles, which was an amazing match. You had Ospreay and Bayley, which is just a dream match. I mean, granted, I prefer usually story with it, but this was a dream match to have a dream match. Not a great match, but the Call Your Shot Battle Royal, I thought had a lot of interesting moments and surprises. I mean, you got Sonny Kiss debut. Juventud Guerrera came in this thing. You had a moment where Jonathan Gresham tried to eliminate his wife from the Battle Royal.
Yeah.
And then you had Shelley and Josh Alexander, just absolutely delivering. Number 3, I have AEW All Out. I have to do the cheap plug. Darby survived that match because Clark helped him. Because obviously he was sitting at ringside. You had the strap match, which absolutely delivered. Ricky probably took the spot of Punk. Probably took more lashings than, Takeshita and Omega, I thought was really good. And then OC and Mox, I had to. Number 2, I got AEW Full Gear. Just starting out with just the visual of Edge, Darby, and Sting, 3 generations all coming out together with that awesome entrance. Again, another OC Mox match, and then Swerve Hagman. That death match was absolutely brutal and vicious. And it was violent, not necessarily just for the sake of violence. There was an actual story, which is not always the case with these type of matches. And my last one, number 1, I got to go WrestleMania Night 1. I have to. I know it's biased. I don't care. It was the show that of the 2 nights going in, everyone thought, looking at the cards, Night 2 was the main event. Night 1 over-delivered and Night 2 didn't. It was a hot crowd the whole time. That 4-way tag team match, which no one anticipated that being any good, delivered. Rhea and Charlotte, again, created a masterpiece in that ring. They're now 1-1 at Mania against one another. And then you got to go Sammy and KO with the Usos. Like that moment for Sammy to do that. And then selfishly, I have to say that Clark and I met the Macho Man during apparently during one of the matches when we went to the concession stand, we went to go take a picture in front of the WrestleMania sign, and this guy just sidled up in full character, and we just went with it. So I have to go night one there, but that's my top 10.
Fair dues. Ain't that the same night that Ben Allison got a standing ovation?
Yeah.
Yes.
Top of the night.
That was that night. It was the red wine night. Yeah, it was all that night. And he got that fancy jacket of his.
Yes. Oh, yeah, that was a banging jacket. Yeah, definitely. That's a very, very, very good top 10. I'm very surprised the amount of TNA. Impact at the time pay-per-views.
Yes.
This year, I am definitely going to start as soon as they rebrand. I'm going to try and jump back into TNA because I used to watch that back on the daily.
Yeah, it's like a
the first pay-per-view.
Fair enough. Yeah, I got to try. I might be a bit lagging behind because obviously I got Raw, SmackDown, plus AEW. I might lag a bit, but I definitely want to start back on TNA because I used to like TNA before Aces and Eights and when Hogan came and burned the whole place down. But anyway, moving straight on. Thank you very much for that, Anthony.
Yep.
El Jefe, give us your top 10, please.
So we're gonna start with an event that both me and you were at Chaos, and that was Money in the Bank in the O2 Arena, where of course Damian Priest won the Money in the Bank men's match in a really fun opener to the show, before we had a decent women's tag title match, and then of course Gunther took on Matt Riddle in a match which I guess, in my opinion, under-delivered. However, afterwards, Drew McIntyre returned, which made up for that in my personal opinion. And then we had Cody Rhodes versus Dominic Mysterio, which in the ring wasn't anything special, but it got the crowd going. We were going nuts. We were hating on Dominic. It was brilliant. The crowd just ate it up, right? It wasn't the greatest match, but the crowd loved it. It was just so fun being involved right there. And then of course, we had the women's Money in the Bank match, which was a banger of a bout, before Seth Rollins defeated Finn Balor in a decent match. But again, I think they could have done better. But then in the main event, that was something special, because the Usos defeated the Bloodline. Jey Uso pinned Roman Reigns. We saw Roman Reigns get pinned for the first time in years, pretty much. It was exceptional. I loved this. And it was just such a fun crowd as well. So personally, maybe a bit of bias because I was there, but I loved it. Then up next, I have another show which we were at, and that is AEW All In. We started with, a decent match between Punk and Joe. It was fine. It wasn't anywhere near the best match. Then we had an 8-man tag between the Bullet Club Gold and 6-man tag team match between Bullet Club Gold and the Elite, the Golden Elite. And I thought that this was, it was a fun match, but I thought it slightly under-delivered for me personally. I don't think I liked it as much as other people did. But then we had FTR versus the Young Bucks. This was really fun as well. Again, not quite as good as some of the others, but it was just a really, fun match. Great to, be there for it. And then we had Stadium Stampede. And I was worried that this match was not going to be very good in person, but I was wrong, and I was really happy about that. I love that match. And then we had Saraya defeat Shida, Dr. Britt Baker, and Toni Storm in a fatal 4-way. This match was absolutely nothing special. It deserved more time. It's an insult. It's an insult it only got 8 minutes, right? This entire card, you had, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 matches, and guess what? You gave the women less minutes than that, because the women only got 8 minutes on a 9-match card. I did not like that very much, but the entrances were cool. Saraya got a moment, that's great. Then Christian Cage and Swerve Strickland squashed Darby Allin and Sting, thankfully, in a squash match. That was brilliant. And then Will Ospreay defeated Chris Jericho in, it was a really good match. Really, really fun match. There, got nothing bad to say about that one. Before we had the AEW World Trios title open house match against the Acclaimed. I'm going to be honest, this was a match which could have been in the middle of a Dynamite, and I think that would have fitted in there perfectly. This was nothing special. But then in the main event, MJF defeated Adam Cole in, a really fun match. Some things, personally, were a bit overkill, but I still really enjoyed it overall. I really did enjoy All in London. And also, it was a spectacle of it as well, which I think you have to consider when talking about shows, right? A show of that magnitude and that atmosphere that it had, you know, the fact that nobody ever thought AEW could do that, it was truly magical. But moving on, I know that pretty much none of you guys have put this on your list, but I am. WrestleMania 39 Sunday. When I was there, the first day I was feeling a little under the weather, so I actually preferred the second night being there live. Now going back and watching it, it's a different story. We'll get to that later. But the WrestleMania 39, I thought was Sunday. I thought was very fun. Brock Lesnar, Omos. Was this a masterpiece? Of course it wasn't. But was it a lot of fun? Yes, it absolutely was. We then had Ronda Rousey. We had that, you know, the women's tag team match, which was okay. It was fine. But then Gunther defeated Drew McIntyre and Sheamus. I recently went back and watched it, and it was way better on TV. It was really, truly exceptional. Bianca Belair, Asuka, fun match. Snoop Dogg then defeated The Miz. Of course, this was a mess. Shane O'Mac came back. He, you know, got injured very, very quickly. But I loved this segment for one reason and one reason only. And that was Snoop Dogg making that save. It was gold. For him to just show the awareness and just jump in. Brilliant. Loved it.
Ginger people's elbow of all time.
And it was brilliant. I loved it. A lot of fun. Then we had Finn Balor squash Edge in a Hell in a Cell match. And then we moved on to, of course, the main event. Cody Rhodes taking on the Tribal Chief, the head of the table, Roman Reigns. And just the air, everything just sunk. The mood just dropped when Roman Reigns retained. But I thought it was a great match. I was sports entertained. They got me. I thought it was a certainty. Roman Reigns was losing the title. Well, he was not. Was it because of the sale? Was it because it was a business decision? Yes. But was it still a lot of fun, and was I worked? Yes. So I enjoyed that one. Now, on to Survivor Series War Games. I mean, you had two great War Games matches, essentially. The middle of the card was a bit mid. I'll say that. But, of course, CM Punk's return. And that's the headline. Come on, how often in wrestling do we get moments like that? Not very often. At number 6, AEW All Out. And about this, I kind of agree with Saul, to be honest. Coming into this show, I mean, I was criticizing it. I was saying the card's bad, there's no build, all of that stuff. Well, it lived up to the hype. It didn't live up to, it further exceeded the hype because the hype was minimal.
Yeah.
But it was a lot of fun. Takeshita Omega, of course, was great. Moxley Cassidy, I actually loved more than most people did. And I'm not a huge Orange Cassidy guy, but I thought the story they told you was exceptional. And like I always say, story is king. But then moving on, AEW Revolution comes in at number 5. And that started, of course, with Ricky Starks defeating Chris Jericho before Christian Cage squashed Jack Perry and buried him, not to be seen since. And then the House of Black defeated the Elite in a really, really fun trios title match. And then, of course, we got Jamie Hayter defeating Saraya. And this, I thought, was a decent match. I did, but Jamie Hayter deserved that moment. And the fact that, you know, she got that moment, I thought was very, very fun indeed. And I'm really happy for her that she did. They did something to make the fans happy. And for that, well, that I will praise them for. But then, of course, Texas Deathmatch, Hangman, Adam Page, Jon Moxley. You know, I don't even need to say anymore. They killed it. Wardlow squashed Samoa Joe for no apparent... Well, it wasn't squash, but it felt like one. This match was not very good. But apart from that, it was good. But then we move on to the tag title 4-way match. Again, this wasn't great, but it was fine for what it was. But then, of course, the main event, the main attraction, the reason why this pay-per-view is looked upon so fondly, and that was MJF versus Bryan Danielson. One of the best matches of 2023, undoubtedly. It really was, you know, I say bang or about a lot. This exceeded that. It was absolutely insane. That 60-minute Iron Man match. And I could have watched them go on for another 60, to be honest with you. But next on my list.
Take a breather.
Had to take a sip of water there. Just get my breath back.
Up for a drink.
Whew. Gotta. Right, getting that air, getting the oxygen now, right? Photosynthesis or whatever. That's plants. I know, but we're moving on. But Moving on, and let's talk about AEW Wrestle. AEW Wrestle Dream. MJF, The Righteous. It was awful. It was an absolute disaster. Why did they do this? I don't know. The Righteous were buried. Let's ignore that, because as soon as we got past that point, this show was very, very good.
This is
Eddie Kingston.
Right.
Yeah. Eddie Kingston defeated Shibata in a fantastic match. Chris Statlander defeated Julia Hart. I wanted Julia Hart to win, but still, it was a fun match. We then had the Young Bucks versus the Guns versus Orange Cassidy and the Lucha Bros. And I mean, this was, it was a fun match, nothing too special, but fun. But then you're the first meeting between Swerve Strickland and Hangman Adam Page, and they hooked us right in, didn't they? This was very, very good. We then had Ricky Starks versus Wheeler Yuta in a match, which I thought over-delivered. But then we get to, the real meat of the show, and that was Bryan Danielson, Zack Sabre Jr., a true dream match for me. Outstanding. Absolutely loved it. We then had the Don Callis family versus Chris Jericho and the Golden Lovers. This match, I've been critical about a lot of these multi-man matches, but this one was actually quite fun. I did enjoy it. Then we had FTR defeat Aussie Open in, a very good match. And then you had the Patriarch Christian Cage defeat Darby Allin in a best 2 out of 3 falls match. And at that point, I switched the TV off and nothing else happened. I did not miss anything at all. Otherwise, this would be a lot further down the card if I did include this. Let's now move on, and let's move on to number 3, WWE Elimination Chamber. We had a great women's number 1 contendership Elimination Chamber match. But before we had that match between Bobby Lashley and Brock Lesnar, I mean, that was controversial for sure. Before the Judgment Day squashed Adam Copeland and his wife. And then, of course, the WWE United States Championship Elimination Chamber match. This was a lot of fun indeed. One of my favorite Elimination Chamber matches in quite a while. But the main event, again, that's what just drew us all in, wasn't it? Sami Zayn, Roman Reigns' true story, a conclusion of a true story, an exceptional story. It was fantastic, brilliant. I cannot say enough good things about that. And yeah, for me, I'll always remember this show because of Roman Reigns and Sami Zayn. And that's why it's so high for me personally. But now let's get to number 2. Because number 2 is the show which I thought just massively under-delivered last year. Well, this year it delivered. AEW New Japan Pro Wrestling Forbidden Door kicked off MJF Hiroshi Tanahashi. Oh. The story being MJF, hates New Japan. CM Punk then defeated Kojima. Orange Cassidy defeated Garcia, Shibata, and Sabre Jr. in a really fun 4-way match. Sanada defeated Jack Perry. And yeah, then we had the 10-man tag team match. I'm not really a big fan of 10-man tag team matches, but this was actually really a lot of fun. Tony Storm defeated Brillo in, a fun match. Again, the women should have got more time. Common theme on AEW pay-per-views. But then Will Ospreay, Kenny Omega, take my money. It was exceptional. I really, really loved it. These guys just went insane. Was it a bit much at times? Sure. But I still loved it, to be honest with you. I did. Maybe I'm a bit of a hypocrite because I criticize certain things that they did at times. But I enjoyed this. What can I say? Then we had the 6-man tag team match, which nobody even remembers. And then in the main event... It's true. Nobody remembers
this. This is number 2, mind you.
Right.
It was a toilet break between these 2 fantastic matches. Main event, Bryan Danielson, Okada. Very fun match indeed. I did think they did better on the Wrestle Kingdom yesterday, but it was a really fun main event, and I came out of this show just, hyped up. I had a lot of fun. And at the end of the day, that's what wrestling is meant to be, fun. And number 1, though, it's got to be WrestleMania Saturday. WrestleMania 39 Saturday. Did the opener under-deliver? Yes, John Cena looked like he just couldn't care about Austin Theory. But, look, it put Austin Theory over, I guess.
Did it?
I don't know.
Not successfully.
No, it didn't. But we'll pretend it did. We then had that exceptional Fatal 4-Way tag match, which, again, nobody thought was going to deliver, and it absolutely did.
Yeah.
We then have Logan Paul show the world that apparently drinking prime makes you a good wrestler because he's picked up this shit fast. Seth Rollins, Logan Paul put on a really, really fun match before Becky Lynch, Lita, and Trish Stratus defeated Bayley, Io Sky, and Dakota Kai Fun 6-man tag match. And then we had Rey Mysterio, Dominic Mysterio. Listen, story is king. They told a story. I found the entrances really funny. Then moving on to the match, which I was raving about. Kobe was like 5 stars, take 10, because Rhea Ripley defeated Charlotte Flair in just an exceptional women's match, and they gave it 25 minutes. Take notes, Tony Khan. Really, really fun. We then had Pat McAfee defeat The Miz. Cool. And then in the main event, Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn, The Bloodline. I spoke about the story earlier. It was just brilliant. And yeah, WrestleMania 39 Saturday, my show of 2023.
Look at you. I have to follow that. Ugh.
Just skim right through yours. We all remember I gotta do my one, so I'm gonna skim right through mine. But yeah, fair enough, Ben. That is a very insightful list. Makes sense for you to have that as your number one. Very surprised there's a couple ones, especially Forbidden Door, but fair enough. That's very good.
I completely forgot about that event though.
Me as well, to be fair. That's a little insight of my next one. Well, fair dues. All right, Mr. Rhymes, would you take the table, please? Skim through your 10.
Skim. Okay. So weirdly enough, my number 10, which I'm surprised that no one mentioned it, but I think I mentioned it for different reasons. But my number 10 was the Royal Rumble.
Oh yeah.
So I feel like my bias for this was that my bias for this was because like I had taken it at the wall, so anything was just amazing to me. But then, what's the code? I remember popping and being extremely happy, weirdly, that Booker T was in the men's rumble, which again, no one remembers. And this was the first year in a long time that I felt like the men's rumble was actually good. Because I feel like the women's one delivers more. Maybe because it goes first, I don't know. But the women's ones have been better, and the men's ones kind of just, the crowd is just there and things happen, but people are just like, meh. Kind of thing. But this year, because the men's was just the opening match, so it was like, okay, then so everything we're seeing, and it's being fed that the match was just good to me. Mind you, the women's one was still good, don't get me wrong, but the men's one was just better. I feel like this was also that weird glow in the dark match or whatever for Bray Wyatt, and
no one remembers.
Rest in peace, Bray Wyatt. So it was unfortunate for him that was his last match to date, but that happened. And then what's it called? I feel like this was also the turning point for Sami Zayn, right? Because he like hit Roman in the back with the chair, and that was a moment that was kind of just like one of those things where I just remember marking out like crazy, like oh shit, like this is happening, like we got it finally, kind of thing. So Rumble can go for number 10 for me because I just enjoyed the entire show. Number 9, weirdly enough, this is only on there's a bias in this one, so I put AEW All Out on my number 9, and the only reason I put it on there is because the only reason I watched this one was this was the same night as Payback, right? Or the night after, or something like that.
Night after, I think.
Yeah, they weren't the same
right
night.
Right, but I was in Pittsburgh at the time because I had gone to Payback, but then but then what's it called? I had and then we watched AEW All Out the next night. And it was just one of them ones where I just remember seeing people appearing on the card. Wasn't this also the card that Lana debuted? Sorry, CJ debuted?
Yes.
Yeah.
So I remember completely marking out for that because I was like, oh, like she's actually here. Like, okay, cool. Because I think they always kind of teased that she wouldn't go there, and they always spoke about that on like social media that she's not going to go there. And then she turned up, and it's just like, oh, okay, this is surprising, and whatnot. So. But then, in all honesty, I was faded again for that thing, so I remember very little about the card. In fact, you guys reminded me about most of that card. Number 8, I actually watched this event, and this is weirdly enough, the only Impact pay-per-view I watched this year, but it was Bound for Glory. And one of the only ones that I watched, I enjoyed the Will Ospreay match because that was meant to be a dream match, and I was just kind of like, well, I don't really know the guy that he was facing, but then my little brother was telling me stuff about him, and then it's like, oh, okay, cool. And I'm watching the match, and I enjoyed it. Impact still gives me like, what's it called, PC era WWE vibes though, because it's so. It's so small.
Yeah.
Right. It's like, and then that's why, like, when I'm watching, is it that what's that battle world they do? The
Koya shot.
Right.
Yeah.
But then I like the fact that it is a Koya shot battle royal, but it's like intergender. That's like refreshing to me. So it's like when you just see like a woman come out and it's like, oh, okay, cool. And then the women are just fighting the men like like nothing like this, and then I'm just kind of like, this is just so interesting. And like you say, like that little guy, what's his name, Jonathan, whatever, he was gonna eliminate Jordan, and then she's like hitting him to the side, like, what you doing, kind of thing. And it was like, oh, kind of thing. And I like that, like, she beat Bully Ray, wherever he goes in Impact. Yeah, so that was an interesting thing. I can't really tell you much about Shelly and Alexander at the end of the night, because I think by that point I was so tired, because I had stayed up for the entire show, and it was just like I had been up early on the day before. But then there's that one. So my number 7, and it's only on here because of the finish. So number 7 was Survivor Series. Couldn't really tell you much about the card. I'm not gonna lie. I couldn't really tell much about the card, although I stayed up to watch it. But then just the way that it was, like the way that the men's war game finished, and then it's one of those things where rumors and everything like that, and then it's that whole, they put the trademark logo, or it was the watermark, and then they're just like closing out the show. And even by that point, I was just so deflated. I'm like, ugh, so I really watched this and nothing's gonna happen. And then his music hit, and you're like, oh, like, okay, this is happening. And so that just kind of like uplifted me and whatnot. And I remember like all the buzz after that and stuff. And so it's just like, yep, so that could be my number 7. Number 6, interesting enough, no one mentioned any NXT events. So my number 6 was NXT Deadline, which is the most recent one, I believe. They have that scramble match, or the Deadline Survivor match, wherever it is. Genuinely enjoyed both the women's and the men's ones. Like, they were genuinely good matches, and I was surprised that they would be so good, kind of thing. And so I would include that on the list. And then what was that one? That's number 5? No, number 6.
Yeah, that's your 5. That was your 5.
So that's my number 5.
Yeah.
Is it?
Dude, have you not numbered
I think
these?
it was no, that was 6. That was 6.
Okay.
Yeah,
this is 6. All right, hurry up.
So it would not hurry up. So
I'm joking.
My number 5, extremely biased, because I was in attendance. So WWE Payback. I don't think anyone mentions the pay-per-view or cares about the pay-per-view, but I was there in person, so the entire thing was like an amazing night. Mind you, I do feel like the main event under-delivered. I think that in all honesty, maybe Becky and Trish should have main evented and whatnot, because that match actually delivered and did something, and then all the mid-card can stay where it was. I think Rey Mysterio and Austin Theory happened, but I was in the bathroom, so I don't remember that match. But then, like, what's it called? But I remember like everything else that I saw, and I remember them giving, was it like a big hype to Judgment Day winning the tag belts, and I was like, that was our big thing that we're getting tonight, because they got like fireworks, they got like all of this stuff for that win and that finish. Then I was like, okay, then cool. So basically, Shinsuke ain't gonna win, which was like every single time Shinsuke had a title match, I was like, okay, this is the night they're gonna pull the trigger, we're gonna get Shinsuke, and he just never won. So that was really, really like, is what it is. My number 4, I went for NXT No Mercy, which the main event was Becky and Tiffany in an Extreme Rules match.
Yeah,
I feel like the whole card was genuinely solid. This is another one that I stayed up for, and then I watched it, but then I didn't realize it was that particular day. I had thought it was going to come on the Sunday, but this one actually came on Saturday, I believe, or was the other way around. There was a reason why I wasn't thinking it was gonna be that night, and I was like, oh, okay, cool, so I'll watch it tonight, kind of thing. And then the fact that, like, I don't know if it was a work or if it was, I don't think it was meant to happen, because the ref put his glove on and had to glue up Tiffany or whatnot, but then Becky like smacking her with the fan chain, and then she's now busted open. I was like, oh, okay, like, okay, I wasn't expecting that kind of thing. And then I just feel like that match delivered. I would have liked it if it had been thumbtacks and not Barbie dolls, but it makes sense because Tiffany is technically a Barbie doll. But, so that was my number 4. My number 3, purely because for me, this has been the only event of 2023 that I've rewatched several times, and I genuinely enjoy rewatching it. So number 3 is Backlash.
Okay.
Just because hot crowd, I liked the new camera angles and them introducing the drones and just, going all out for that. I liked that. That was, I guess, the debut of them using that particular setup in a regular arena. So it makes it feel like it's a bigger show. If that makes sense. Because I remember watching the SmackDown prior, and I'm like, oh, it's a stadium. So I was like, oh, so Backlash is going to be in a stadium, and then SmackDown's in a stadium. Yeah. But then when you're like, oh, when you listen to him on commentary, and he's something like 14,000, 15,000, whatever he is, and I was like, oh, so it's a regular arena, but that illusion makes you think differently and stuff. So I was like, oh, okay, cool, like whatever. But then Backlash, Io Sky and Bianca Belair tore up the house. Absolutely loved that match. I loved that Zelina Vega, although she doesn't really wrestle, she actually got her moment. Like she got to perform in front of them, and she, you know, had the fans like give her a send off kind of thing, you could say, and then she like cried in the ring and all of that. I liked the Extreme Rules street fight, whatever it was, and it was like you had Carlito, you had the other guy, the Hall of Famer, I forget his name, but he turned up and whatnot. The crowd was just hot for them and whatnot. Damian Priest like putting over Bad Bunny and whatnot, considering I guess they were tag team partners at the WrestleMania a few years ago, kind of thing, and now they're like facing each other and stuff. It was just and for the overbooking that match had, I actually really enjoyed it. So, you know, I'm talking about the entire card and completely skipping the main event, but you know. So Backlash will be my number 3. My number 2, I was so irritated that I missed this because I should have been there, but then literally I flew to New York the day before, so I missed it. But then it was Money in the Bank for number 2. Okay. And I liked the fact that it was in the UK because then when I was in America, I'm watching it in like the daytime, so I still was able to do shit afterwards. Yeah. It came on at something like 12. Or was it like 12? 1
it was like 1 o'clock
over there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it came on so early, so I'm like, oh, I can actually watch this and whatnot. And so I did, and you know, I loved the hot crowd, I loved the setup. But then I guess the difference from Backlash is that you guys still had a Tron, whereas at Backlash it was all at the entrance or whatever it was. But then I loved. And I still to this day don't think they ever truly like expected the Shayna Baszler Shayna Baszler turn. That just kind of came from nowhere. Like that match just didn't call for it. It was no foreshadowing. It was just kind of like a regular tag team match, just not into it kind of thing. It was just like meh, whatever. And then the turn happened. And you're like, oh, and everyone just kind of woke up, and you're like, oh, okay, yeah. And then what's it called? Both Money in the Bank matches were amazing. That tag team main event, amazing. Like, you know, so I will go for that for my number 2. Weirdly enough, you all split it up, but for my number 1, I just put WrestleMania as a whole.
That's fair enough. Yeah,
because I felt like for me, WrestleMania was one that, yes, I feel like ever since they've been splitting it up, which I guess would have been what was the start, was the pandemic one, right? Yeah. But then I think for me the year afterwards, when it was the one where the first night
and it had crowds,
but the first night was the one where there was an hour delay.
The rain, the rain one.
But then it's like I feel like even on that one, when you had a whole show where it was their first like event with a crowd back, and then it started an hour late. But even when you watch back that WrestleMania, it's like, and I think we even spoke about it on a previous podcast, it's like night 1, they all took their time. Every match kind of had a feel like it mattered, and it was very sort of, you know, treated as like a big night feel. Whereas night 2, it was very much like main event, and you're like, oh, okay, because night 2 kind of just flew right by, and I feel like that's been the sort of consistent for most of WrestleMania now. So like night 1 seems to always get like what seems like the undercard, but then it over delivers. And then this year it was like very much similar in the sense that, okay, so I feel like night 1 definitely felt better, but there were aspects of night 2 that were still good. Yeah, a lot of missable parts and whatnot, but a lot of things about night 2 that were still kind of like, okay, well, you know. And then obviously for me, Roman won, so I was like, I enjoyed WrestleMania, so therefore rather than split it up, I was like, I'm just going to include it as one event. And so that's why I just put WrestleMania as a whole for me, because it was just one event that, like, I guess for this year, I have to say it's probably the most solid card. Yeah, I guess. So therefore, I was just like, okay, you know what? That will probably be my number 1, because I can fault it in places, but then I can fault every single card in places. But WrestleMania is the one that I genuinely was like, okay, I'm cool for this one. So that is my top 10, folks.
10. I'm gonna quickly just go through my one, you know, because a lot of you guys have pretty much spoken for me, pretty much. So yeah, my number 10 is gonna be Money in the Bank. Very solid show. I'm just being biased because obviously I was also there in person. The right people won in that match. Most people. Well, obviously, initially, I thought when it came to the men's, I thought LA Knight was definitely going to win. Right. But I'm fine with Damian Priest. He was probably my second choice, if anything, if I had to choose. So I was fine with that. The women's one was definitely exceeded expectations because it's had the long run of not really being the best men in the back Money in the Bank match. Whenever they hold them. So this one was probably the strongest in a long time. And all the other matches and all the other matches were fine. It was what it was. It was what it was. Number 9 is gonna be another one that I was also at with obviously the crew here. It was obviously All In. The atmosphere was absolutely electric. Awesome being there, being a part of history as well. Most of the matches delivered. One of my favorites was Jericho versus Ospreay, which I thought I was writing that off. I thought it was gonna suck, but it was great. Great to see an actual FTR versus Young Bucks match in person. Also glad to see CM Punk's last match in person. that was pretty cool. Obviously it left a little stain on that pay-per-view. That was the main talking point, even though we was a part of history there. But it was what it was. The rest of the match was great. The Stampede match, way better than I thought it could be. I thought it was going to be an absolute mess, but they did it very well. So yeah, that was great. Number 8, I put was Crown Jewel. I thought that was the very best. Yes, for best. I thought it was a very solid event. Obviously, the main event kind of waned a little bit, but the Rhea Ripley match against the 4 contenders, Nia Jax, Raquel Rodriguez, Shayna Baszler, and Zoe Stark. Very strong showing for Rhea to prove that she is on top of the division. She was able to put down convincingly all 4 of these ladies. Convincingly, Solo Sikoa. It's another squash to John Cena. The last good squash we saw was from John Cena was obviously him against Brock Lesnar. This was almost up there, and it was a good showing for Solo. Logan Paul versus Rey Mysterio was solid. I called that he was gonna win, and he did that. The Cody Rhodes versus Damian Priest was the weakest, and Roman Reigns and LA Knight was by the numbers. But I thought it was a very fun pay-per-view considering the history of the Saudi shows. We all know about that, but yeah, that's what I mean. Number 7, I gave to Backlash. Everyone's pretty much giving their thoughts of it. It was fun. It was electric. One of the best crowds of the year. I still get goosebumps watching Bad Bunny's entrance alone. It's just like you can't get anything electrifying than that. Next up, Payback, the tag match. Judgment Day versus Sami Zayn and KO. Flipping stellar. Absolutely loved it. Could have went either way. Sorry? Oh yeah, you were there in person as well. Yeah, definitely.
Fun fact, after Kevin Owens' spot, he just sat in the audience drinking with the crowd.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, so you saw Dominic crawling back to the ring ready for his spot or whatever.
Yeah.
Kevin Owens just sat in the corner and literally a fan handed him a drink and he just sat there just drinking and talking to the fans.
Fair enough.
Because that's just off camera, so he was just like to the side.
Yeah.
He took a drink from the crowd and he was just sat there at the side and he just like chilling, waiting for his spot. Yeah. And then at some point you saw him stagger to the ring.
Fair dues. Yeah, that was cool. Obviously, a couple matches didn't hit. The Rhea Ripley versus Raquel Rodriguez match, and even the Last Man Standing match, kind of like fell by the. Sorry, it wasn't the Last Man Standing. Seth Rollins against Shinsuke. That was the first one. It's just a normal match. It was fine. But the cage match between Becky Lynch and Trish Stratus, loved it. Very, very well done. Next up, number 6, I gave it to Elimination Chamber. Again, that was Sammy's event. It was, you can't really. Everyone was looking forward to that main event, and the build up to it was great. Good to see Edge and Beth. Like I think it was Anthony that said it, or maybe Soul. To see them as a tag team. What were they called? The Grit Couple. They were called the Grit Couple. That was hilarious.
Yeah, I think it was very bad personally.
but yeah, it was cool seeing them tag together. The Elimination Chamber matches were solid, especially the U.S. title match was the U.S. title Elimination Chamber was great, especially with leading up with Seth and Logan. Solid, all good. And that crazy spot that Montez Ford did was crazy as well. So that's my number 6. Number 5, I gave it to WrestleMania Night 2. Okay. I gave that WrestleMania Night 2. Sorry, that's my number 4. Yeah, that's my number 4. Yeah. So that would obviously I'm being biased again. I was there, and obviously the unexpected ending to that night. But I definitely felt that was probably the weakest out of the nights. Like, and it felt very short. It felt very rushed for some reason. I remember at one point that we checked hard, and we was just like, wow, we're near the end already. So they did try to stretch it out with the Miz and the Snoop Dogg thing and whatever. But yeah, it just felt much more rushed than the last one, than night one. But obviously the best match on there was, of course, Gunther versus Sheamus versus Drew McIntyre, and the main event was solid as well. So, but yeah, this wasn't as great as night one. Number 3, I put as Survivor Series War Games. The women's War Games. The women's War Games match was definitely probably their best one by far, including NXT ones.
Really?
And I feel, yeah, definitely.
I
It was
agree.
very more enjoyable. It was definitely more enjoyable. Definitely felt more choreographed, but still, it was way better. The men's one, great seeing Randy back, looking jacked as hell. And of course, imagine this was 4 a.m. I live in a detached house, and when CM Punk came back, I'm pretty sure I woke up a majority of my road because I marked the hell out. Never thought I would see that happening. But yeah, a great year for WWE. What can I say? And then of course, number 2 goes to this one. Now, the 1 and 2 was quite tight, but I gave it to WrestleMania Night 1 as my number 2.
Okay.
That was just I think that the fact that I was there for Mania definitely pipped it. That was my first night. I think that just being there, being a part of history was great. Obviously, the first match didn't set the levels, but eventually it crept up and it kept going higher and higher and higher. And yeah, the main event solidified it. I think the crowd was amazing. Atmosphere was crazy. Loved the stage. Probably one of the best WrestleMania stages of all time. And and yeah, it just set up for what could have been obviously even if that was not one, what possibilities could we see in night 2? And obviously that happened. So that leaves my number 1. Sorry, Soul. This is not an AEW pay-per-view. It is, for me, it is your number 10, Mr. Rhymes, and that is the Royal Rumble.
That was your best for this year.
Yeah, that was my best. Just simple fact because the Royal Rumbles, both Royal Rumbles were freaking solid. And after a couple years of dud Royal Rumbles, like the one prior was Lesnar and Ronda Rousey, and then the one before that was Edge, and then I guess Bianca Belair, but it was in the Thunderdome. So it was, and the last one was, and before that was McIntyre and Charlotte Flair. Yeah, Drew McIntyre was rightful, Charlotte Flair wasn't. But yeah, that's not here or there. But yeah, this one was, both matches gripped me from beginning to end, and it told a concise or a cohesive story between the men's one, number 1 with number 30, and then obviously Rhea Ripley. When did she come in? She came in at number 2, right? Yeah, she came in at number 2.
Number one.
Did she come in number 1?
Yeah, she was number 1. Liv was number 2.
Okay, fair enough. Either way, like an awesome story in both of them. It was simple and it could have went either way. And yeah, but both rightful winners in both Rumbles, and the matches in between were freaking solid as well. And yeah, like the besides the Bray Wyatt and LA Knight thing, but we'll give that. And I guess the Bianca Belair versus Alexa Bliss match, I forgot it even happened. But either way,
right.
And obviously the main event was amazing as well. So yeah, that's why I think definitely set the tone for the rest of the year. And yeah, it's just been up and up since, but it was very enjoyable simply because I've been burned so many times from previous Rumbles. That is why I thought this one was very solid, and yeah, I just loved it. So that's my top 10 for best pay-per-views of the year. And yeah, I think that's pretty. Any objections? No,
it's good.
No, I'm surprised it ranks. I'm surprised it ranks that high, but yeah.
Yeah, I'm surprised too.
Fair dues. Yeah, why not? But anyway, let me know if you agree. What's your top 10s? Please leave it in the comments. I do always read them, and obviously, don't acknowledge them. Anyway, moving on. We come to the end of the show, and yeah, thank you very much, Soul. Thank you very much, El Jefe Ben Allison, of course, Mr. Rhymes. Anthony had to unfortunately rush off, but yeah, thank you very much as well. Be sure to check the next episode as well of the top 5 worst pay-per-views of the year. it is going to be a doozy. I am pretty sure of it. But yeah, thank you very much, guys. I have been your host, Chaos. He has been Soul. Down below has been Ben Allison. Over there has been Mr. Rhymes. Until next time, guys, have a good, happy 2024. Peace.